Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of October 28th. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on volume of sales and eBay sales data. And like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look at the list and see what's trending in the market. But before I get into the list for today, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. But we got to talk about some very, very cool books because we got a cool list this week. A lot of books on this list I make a lot of sense as to why they've gotten hot in the market, and they're all books that I think are definitely worth owning in your collection, especially this one here at the number 5 spot, which you guys are staring at. But before I get into talking about this book, of course, I will put a link to the article in the description. This one is written by Matt Tuck, as it is every week, so if you guys want to do further reading, by all means, check out the article. But coming in at the number 5 spot here, we have Uncanny X-Men number 221, up 19 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. This is a book that came out in 1987, written by Chris Claremont. And, you know, when I think about this book, you know, I've made a few videos on the channel where I've talked about, you know, undervalued books or books that I believe that every collector should have in their collection. And this one next to X Factor number 6, First Apocalypse, is one that I really feels like fits that bill. I mean, when we think about, you know, some of the most attainable sort of blue chip first appearances for characters, I feel like this book right here, Uncanny X-Men number 221 and X Factor number 6, are some of the cheapest books you are going to be able to get in your collection for characters that are absolute A/S tier characters. And in my opinion, if you're starting your collection today and you're looking for like a great key to get your hands on that it doesn't absolutely break the bank, I feel like Uncanny X-Men number 221 is one of the best books that you're going to be able to find for your collection. Now, as to why it got hot recently on this list, well, of course, there's been so much speculation over the last, couple years that, the Fox franchise for X-Men was building towards Mr. Sinister. There were so many Easter eggs that were laying the foundation, and it's got a lot of people thinking that, when we get X-Men into the MCU, and we all know that that's going to come eventually soon, that, the MCU might want to build upon some of those ideas, or at least, bring a character to the screen that is not going to be, someone we've already seen. So Mr. Sinister sort of fits that bill as the next in line for, a big bad for the X-Men to go off against. Additionally, one of the cool things when you really think about it, as far as like what Mr. Sinister does, is he's obsessed with genetics. We have these connections to Eternals, seeding the genetics and the DNA of people and humanity, and that's how we created mutants. So it feels like there's a lot of ways that the MCU could, make that all work. Additionally, Mr. Sinister has been being used in the current, X-Men storylines, and just like films would do, that's also going to create ripples in the market. So a lot of people going after this book, and honestly, it's just a great book for your collection. Everybody should get their hands on this one at some point, even if it's at a low grade copy. It's just a classic book. And as we dig into the numbers, we'll see that there actually is a 9.9 on the census. Fair market value has this at $13,000, but we're going to talk about the 9.8 fair market value around $575. And then down here at the bottom, it's a 1987 book, not going to really be slabbed at the lowest grade, but typically speaking, when you find this book on eBay, you're looking around $60, $70, $80 or so. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. And the next book on the list is actually going to be Venom, number 3, up 22 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first appearance of the character known as Null, written by Donny Cates and drawn by Ryan Stegman. And everybody at this point should know this book. This is kind of one of the, hottest runs of the last, couple years. Of course, Donny Cates on Venom was an absolute sensation, culminating in the King in Black crossover event, which of course brought Null to face off against, the Avengers and all the heroes of Earth and Venom and Dylan Brock, etc. And this book right here, Venom number 3, this is the first appearance of that character of Null. And so, for a long time, I think that this was a very, very hot book in the market. A lot of people were gravitating to this book, especially in the build up to King in Black. A lot of people were really excited for what was going to happen in King in Black, which absolutely skyrocketed the prices for this book here. But, as things do, out of sight, out of mind, once we got on the other end of King in Black, this book definitely started to take a dip because it felt like, oh, Null was no longer going to be a factor. Maybe he's dead. We're not going to see him anymore, etc., etc. But one of the things that's really interesting is that, We got to know, guys, in Marvel comic books, these characters never die. If Marvel wants to bring them back for whatever reason, they'll always bring them back. And there's always the potential that we're going to see them on the screen someday in the future. And a lot of people right now are feeling like, hey, with the success of Venom #2, looks like we might get a Tom Holland Spiderman in that Venom universe. We might learn more about the symbiotes. Maybe Sony is actually going to be building towards like a Venom event film later on in the future. Maybe they're actually going to build towards Null, since Null has been now canonized as like the reason for the symbiotes existing. If that's what Venom wants to explore in their movie universe, well, it only makes sense that they would actually bring Null into the fold later on. Additionally, one of the other cool things is I believe that in the credits, Donny Cates was actually thanked in Venom #2. So who knows? Maybe he consulted a little bit. Maybe he's had talks with Sony. Maybe there's murmurs about this stuff. This is all, of course, speculation. But you never really know with that kind of thing. And I think for that reason, for the the speculators, a lot of people thinking, okay, maybe Sony will build towards Null later on down the line, and this is a character that we'll see on the screen eventually. For me, I still think that this is a great book. I think that Null is going to be this generation's Carnage character, right? Like where if we flash forward 15 years from now, like the kids who are reading Null and really loved King in Black, they're going to have an appreciation for this character and that event. Like, some of the older collectors from the Copper Age have an appreciation for Carnage or Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, I think that that's going to be the package deal that kids in the future have nostalgia for. So I think that this is always going to be a great book regardless, and one that I definitely would love to have in my collection. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $300 range, which is definitely a lot lower than it once was back at the height of King in Black. And then down here at the bottom, of course, 2018 book, not going to see it slapped low grade. But typically speaking, when you go onto eBay looking for this thing, you can find copies sitting around that $120, $130, $40 range or so. All right, let's go on out to the third hottest book. And the third hottest book is also a very cool one. This is Thor #1, up 24 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this, of course, is Thor from 2015. I believe that it is written by Jason Aaron and drawn by Russell Dodderman. And this, of course, is the first appearance of Jane Foster as Thor. Now, we all have heard some of the rumors. We all kind of know what's coming later on in Thor Love and Thunder. It's all pretty much known now that Natalie Portman, Jane Foster, is going to be taking up the mantle of Thor. She's going to be picking up Mjolnir and realizing this version of the Thor character, the Jane Foster Thor character. And for that reason, this is sort of that quote unquote first appearance of that event taking place. Now, one of the really things I think is interesting with regards to this book, and this sort of spawns into a whole other conversation that I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Really, if we're talking about, first original appearances, there is that What If book that actually has what if Jane Foster took up the mantle of Thor. Now, I would love to know what you guys think. Do you think that that is the money book first appearance to own the What If book, or do we not feel What If is canon? If not, then of course there's this book right here, which is the first time that it happens in actual continuity. Except one of the other things is that this is actually only a cameo appearance. In fact, issue #2 that comes after this is, by all the rules of cameo and full, etc., is actually the first full appearance of the character being Thor Jane Foster. So that would seem like it would be the money book you'd want to own. But I think one of the reasons why people gravitate towards this book specifically is that you can see her there on the cover. And for all intents and purposes, that's her, in the garment that is the Thor outfit. So it's one of those interesting things, kind of like first appearance of Bishop, where he, in his actual comic book, he only makes a cameo appearance, yet he appears on the cover. So I feel like, cover in some ways takes precedent over cameo/full. So that's one of those really interesting things. And so for that reason, I think this is one of the reasons why this book has kind of been sort of the quote unquote winner book with regards to what people are going after. But regardless, we're getting closer to Thor Love and Thunder. Feels like only a matter of time before we start to see images and a trailer. And when we see Natalie Portman looking like Thor, this book is absolutely going to go to the moon. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $325 range. And of course, 2014 book, not going to see it slabbed at the low grade. But typically speaking now, when you go onto eBay, you can find this thing sitting around that $70, $80, $90, maybe $100 range or so. All right, let's go now to the second hottest comic of the week. And the second hottest comic of the week is a fan favorite. This, of course, is Amazing Spider-Man number 365, up 48 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know this is that supersized 30th anniversary issue that features the preview first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. And for whatever reason, this has been the book that is dubbed the absolute first appearance of that character. A lot of people, want to talk about, oh, it's a preview, so it shouldn't really count. Spider-Man 2099 #1 should be the book. But, I'm not here to say which is the one that the market should go to. I'm just here to say that this right now is the second hottest comic of the week. And I think one of the reasons why this one has shot up this last week is that, we all know that we're getting Into the Spider-Verse #2. At the end of that movie, it was kind of insinuated that Spider-Man 2099 might be making an appearance in some kind of way. So there's a lot of speculation that Spider-Man 2099 will appear in Into the Spider-Verse #2. Additionally, I didn't know this, but as Matt points out in the article, the voice of Spider-Man 2099 was actually voiced by Oscar Isaac. I guess it was kind of a cameo voice or whatever. And so he's been kind of, been asked recently about will, that character make a reappearance in the next film, and Oscar Isaac didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it. So that's going to leave speculators going to speculate, and everyone's thinking that, Spider-Man 2099 is going to be the next big thing. So regardless, that's got people wanting to get their hands on this book. And this is just a great book, honestly. This is just a classic collector's book. It's one of those 90s gimmick covers. I love that all of these Spider-Man runs had their various sort of foil cover. You got the blue one for Spectacular. You got the green one for Web. You got the red one for, I believe it was just the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man run. And then you got the this one right here, which of course is the Amazing Spider-Man run. I might have mixed matched those colors, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But of the four, this is the one that I think most people want to own because it is the ASM book, and additionally, it is the first preview appearance of Spider-Man 2099. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are fair market value 9.8 selling around the $500 range. Pretty crazy, actually, that it's going up that high as far as the price is concerned. And then down here at the bottom, it's a 90s book, so you're not going to see it slabbed at the lowest grade. But typically speaking, when you go onto eBay looking for this thing, you can now find copies sitting around that $30, $40, $50 range or so. All right, and let's now round it out with the hottest comic of the week. And the hottest comic of the week is Fantastic Four #67, up 72 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the character known as him in his cocoon, in cameo, depending on how you want to articulate it, or as Go Collect wants to refer to it, first brief appearance of him. And of course, all of the books related to Adam Warlock absolutely exploded over these last couple of weeks since James Gunn confirmed that we were going to be getting Adam Warlock in the MCU in the next film. And this is one of the books that, I feel like a lot of people in the market actually feel like is the money book. This is the go-to book. I mean, depending on how you fall in terms of your definitions of what a first appearance is, like if you're on that side of the aisle that believes that Hulk 180 is the first appearance of Wolverine, and that's the one everyone should own, and that's the one people should get, then this one right here, Fantastic Four #67, I believe is going to be the book that you also would want to own, because at the end of this book, Adam Warlock, or him, I guess you would call him, who was made inside of this cocoon, actually comes out of the cocoon, and we actually get a couple panels on the last page that actually show him in his him form, which of course would later lead to Thor 165, where we get the first full appearance of him, and then that of course would later lead to Marvel Premiere #1, where we actually got the first time he was called Adam Warlock. So a lot of the keys for Adam Warlock, there's a lot of like dilutedness in terms of what his first appearance is, but a lot of people wanting to get their hands on this book right here, as it's been the one that has been moving the most this last week. But regardless, all of these Adam Warlock keys have absolutely been exploding. Everyone is excited for this character, and all of them have absolutely been shooting up with their prices on eBay and going absolutely to the moon. But either way, this Stan Lee Jack Kirby book from 1967, first brief appearance of him, is the hottest comic of the week. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there actually is a 9.8 on the census. Fair market value selling around the $25,000 range. And then down here at the bottom, this is a book that generally isn't going to be slabbed too often at the low grade. Go Collect has this fair market value around the $100 range or so. But when I go into eBay looking for this thing, now when I see copies being listed, I definitely see this thing being sold at the $160, $200, $250 range or so. Well, that's all I have for this video. Those are the hottest comics for the week of October 28th. Let me know what you guys think. I thought it was a great list this week. Do you guys have any of these books? So let me know if you guys are hunting any of these books. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.